This Tuesday edition live here on Golf Channel, also PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92. And you talk about players that get into a flow state. You just, if you're on a heater, stay on one. Well, the person joining me now, she's part of a great event this week. It is the season of Farah. 4 collegiate wins in 2026, including that NCAA individual title last month out at La Costa. She won the Annika Award. She was the recipient of the 25-26 PGA WGCA Player of the Year Award, the Co-Low Amateur at the Chevron Championship, the first women's major of the year. Oh, no, by the way, 5 and a bagel for a victorious United States Curtis Cup team. And why not just wrap in the winning putt to boot? She joins us now, middle of the afternoon on the southwest coast of Ireland. She is Farah O'Keefe. You're on a heater. I mean, come on. How does that feel?
That's cool to be able to say that. It's pretty wild. It's been the craziest last couple of months. I think there was a clip out there somewhere I was talking about my travel, and I just feel so fortunate to be able to do what I love. And this week is an especially cool week because we get to, wear the Palmer umbrella and kind of get to represent everything that he was about in this beautiful game of golf. But it's been so special. It's been the coolest experience, and I'm just happy that I get these opportunities.
That's very well said. Now, you got to feel comfortable there. The O'Keefe clan, a very powerful clan, Gaelic clan, originated in County Cork, which is right next to County Kerry, where you are. Do you have relatives there? Have your parents found people that are part of your clan?
Oh, I'm sure. There's probably a million of them here. I've had a couple people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, my friend's name is John O'Keefe," and I'm like, "Yeah, that could be my great uncle," and I never even knew about it. But yeah, my family heritage goes way back. So on my dad's side, both his parents, so my grandmother's maiden name was O'Keefe, but it was spelled with 2 F's. So on his side of the family, we're basically O'Keefe all the way back,
wow.
Which is pretty neat.
That is cool. I want to get back to the Arnold Palmer thing here for a second, because this is not your first go-round. In the last couple of years, I said to you before we got started, the umbrella looks good on anybody, and they've done a neat thing this week with the red, white, and blue for the Americans and a different color scheme for the international side. What have you learned about Mr. Palmer over the last couple of years?
I think I've learned a lot about how he held up the integrity of the game. We play a very traditional game, and so the fact that we get to participate in an event like this where we get to learn about the history of it all a little bit and travel overseas and get to experience all of that pretty early on in our careers is a big deal. But the one thing that I will say that stands out is that Mr. Palmer said that when you write your signature, it should be legible. I guess he was pretty hell-bent on making sure that everybody could read his signature, and he thought that was the right thing to do. So when we have, they kind of have us sign a bunch of flags at the beginning of the week, and both teams, all men and women, are in a room together, and the thing that they read to you to make sure that you know how to sign your signature on these flags is that it should be legible and pretty and not something just scribbled down on paper where somebody has to go look up what it is afterwards.
Late in his life, I had the good fortune of spending days in his office in Latrobe. And Farah, I'm not kidding, he had a stack of correspondence this high from people all over the world, all ages, wanting just that autograph. And every one of them meticulously done so that they all got what everybody had, which was the perfect Arnold Palmer signature. The team part of this for you, this is a large group playing with and against each other. Is there anybody that you don't know particularly well yet that you're most interested in? Look, you're already laughing. That you're most curious to get to know a little better?
Yeah, I think most of the guys. I'm sure that a lot of these guys, some of them are younger, some of them are, coming off their freshman year and all that kind of stuff. So, but I'm sure that some of them are going to be future stars of the PGA Tour. And so I'd love that, this is such a neat week for us because we get to make those connections and they kind of last a lifetime. On the girls' side, I feel like I pretty much know everybody, which is pretty neat. I'm a little bit of a chattier person, and so I get to build those connections pretty easily, especially when I see them week in and week out in college events. But getting to play with a guy and getting to see how they play the game and learning more about their side of the sport has been really, really neat. And I'm looking forward to that this week, especially here on some links golf. It's not always easy for some of those long hitters to get it around. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some of that. It's entertaining.
You mentioned your family, your parents, both athletes. I believe your mom's a black belt in Taekwondo. When you were a little kid, do you remember whether it was your mom or your dad, who displayed a competitive bent that was noticeable to you? Which one was it that you noticed?
Yeah.
Which one was more competitive at a younger age for you, mom or dad?
Definitely my dad. My mom is competitive, but she's not outwardly competitive. I would say she's a little bit too nice. But my dad gets really heated. There were a couple times where we would play each other when I was younger, and maybe I'd beat him or something like that, and he was the sorest loser in the world. But it was good, because I realized he kind of lit that fire. He helped me want to be competitive and beat people. I remember a conversation we had one time after I played poorly in an event, and he just was kind of driving me around the neighborhood of the course that we were playing. And I think I shot like 91 or something. I played so bad. And he looks at me and he was like, do you want to be a middle of the pack social golfer, or do you want to stack trophies? Because if you want to be a social golfer, that's fine, but we're not going to sign up for tournaments anymore. And I was like, crying, and I was like, I want to stack trophies. I don't want to do that. And so, yeah, that was kind of the end of what I would call social golf. Every time that I tee it up now, I try to be competitive, and I compete. I play with the intention of competing and not just showing up and whacking golf balls, because truly that's how the sport's supposed to be played. You're supposed to have good sportsmanship. It's supposed to be a lot of fun, but the most fun part about the game is walking away at the end and saying, well, I did everything I could, and either you win or you lose, and at the end of the day, you just have a bunch of fun, and you learn stuff about yourself, you learn stuff about life, and you make friends along the way. And that was something that we talked about a lot on the Curtis Cup team, is how competition can really fuel friendships, the friendships that are closer than anything else, because it's almost like you're going into battle with them, especially on a team. But even when you're competing against each other, it's nothing personal. It's just a game. And at the end of the day, everybody has the opportunity to be friendly and have a good time, because, maybe this week wasn't my week, but I can go get you the next time. So
again, it's interesting you mentioned Curtis Cup, this great team competition this week. You won as an individual, but I know how much you love representing University of Texas and being a part of that team. I'm curious, Farah, what do you think is the best way for you to make your teammates better? I know that this is a week's time, but even in this finite amount of time, how can you, whether it's at Texas or when you get in these team competitions, what's the best thing you can exhibit to make your teammates better?
One of the things that we talk about at Texas is having juice. It's your energy. I think that if you're just a person who shows up and you're excited to be there, and that can really rub off on other people, and other people then get excited to be there as well. And so that's one of the biggest things that we've talked about on our team at Texas, is just making sure that you show up with the intention of having a good time and being there with your teammates, being present. I think one of the coolest examples that we've had the last couple of weeks, I've been traveling with some of the girls from the U.S. National Development Squad, and I don't think there was a single car ride where anybody just had their nose in their phone. We were constantly just saying, do you want to play a game, like 20 questions? Or we were playing a movie game where we would describe movies really poorly and try to guess which movie it is. Trivia, you name it. We were playing everything. And I think that just builds, you're present, but it also builds the connection. And then all of a sudden everybody wants to participate, and it's not like anybody's being a Debbie Downer. And so I think that's kind of the biggest thing. But at least on my team at Texas, one of the things that I try to do is, my dad always told me, he was like, leaders who just speak outright sometimes actually lose some of their influence, because they're not leading by example. And so he always told me to, speak quietly and carry a big stick, which means that you're leading by example instead of outward leading. And so that's what I try to do. I know that not everybody is going to be paying attention to that, but that's okay, because some people play better golf when they're kind of involved with their own thing. It just kind of gives people the opportunity to either, kind of follow, maybe pay attention, maybe do what they need to do. It just leaves more room for people to feel comfortable and do what they need to do. But it's been really cool to be part of a team for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it's just been such a special treat. And every the last 3 weeks, it's like every time I show up somewhere, I'm on a completely different team. It's just some of the girls just keep hanging around, like Anna Davis and Jasmine Koo. I feel like I'm just stuck with them.
I played with Anna in the springtime at Colonial and had a great day with her. She's a trip. Last thing for you. You mentioned all these teams. Look, you got the Evian on the horizon. What is the most transferable thing about this team thing when you're playing matches, that when you get back in your own little bubble and it's about, numbers in boxes for you and putting a score together, what is the most transferable aspect of the team thing back to the individual pursuit?
I really want to say energy again, just because that was something that I learned at the Curtis Cup as well. I was down going into the back nine of my singles match, and I was kind of getting on myself. I was getting a little upset. But I remember that, I played with Avery, and we had a couple of run-ins where we were starting to get upset. And I just was like, remembering what Coach Laura has told me at Texas is when you're by yourself and you're on the golf course, you have to be your best friend. You have to talk to yourself like your teammate. And so you would never tell your teammate, oh my gosh, that shot was horrible. You would probably look at your teammate and be like, that's fine, you can go get that up and down. And so I think really that's the biggest thing that I've learned in these last couple of weeks, is that when it comes back to individual competition, you almost kind of have to be a teammate back to yourself. You have to be somebody that's going to uplift your emotional status, maybe how you're feeling, maybe be cognizant of how your body's feeling. Sometimes you're just super tired and you just don't have any more, but you have to use the strengths that you do have to your advantage. And I think that just through everything that I've kind of been lucky enough to experience the last couple of months, I have a lot of confidence in the tank. My body's starting to get a little tired. I definitely need a week or two off. But I do think that I'm gaining experience. I'm gaining just more time on the golf course, playing the game, and definitely just having a good time all the way around. And I've been really lucky to surround myself with some pretty cool people who are also very interested in having a good time. So it's been really cool. Well,
Farah, your gratitude is reflected in the way you present yourself and share. Thank you for taking some time in O'Keefe in Ireland. You'll have a good week. You know that. Enjoy a great experience. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd say the luck is on our side this week.
There you go. There is Farah O'Keefe, part of Team USA. And those are winning words. Those were a lot of great words from a young lady who's achieved a lot already. Presented by Century Insurance. They do business insurance. Evaluate yours with them.